Hey, Warpugs. So, the last time I saw something by Tate's Top Vids, it was on 682, and I absolutely loved it. I absolutely loved it. And I have been trying to find time in my schedule to sit down because not one of, it is the highest requested SCP on the Discord server right now is from them. Did that make sense? Did I lose my train of thought and did it derail? I don't know. But this is Sedition SCP-343. This was requested by Rye all the way back in December, okay? I try to keep up to date. There's no way I can. There's no way I can. And something else that I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get to the point where I can start doing a few more live streams and things like that. Like Laser Pig. Laser Pig, I'm hoping to do a live stream on later this week. I'm hoping to do a couple of other things. But the big thing for me is just finding the time to take a look at some of these longer form videos. And if you're wondering why sometimes I don't check out like some longer form videos or I'm not looking at the most requested things, it's because of that. It's because of the time constraints. And that's all it really is. Because, believe me, I have been going past this one for weeks. Because just don't have the time. And that's really ridiculous considering how much work goes into some of my other videos. I'm either scripting or doing something like that. And then I sit down and I take open something up and I'm like, God, I just don't have. I want to, but I just don't have the time. It's a persistent thing. I wish I could add just 1,000 more hours to my week, where I could be up and aware with that. But I think I've said that recently as well. I'm rambling. I was considering checking out the file for this before I started on it. The SCP-343's file. I was considering checking that out. But one of the things I've enjoyed the most about this is experiencing this kind of stuff for the first time with you guys, the people that really wanted to recommend this. So, this is my first experience with SCP-343. Do I know what it is? No. Should I know what it is? Have you guys probably mentioned it to me before? Probably, but me and the dots are not connecting. This is Tate's Top Vids. I'm expecting an educational experience, to say the least, because the last video I saw from Tate's Top Vids covered 682, and it was phenomenal. It really gave you a sense of what this thing was. Let's see what it does for 343. Let's go. Warpugs, let's go. I just wonder why, I don't wonder why. We know why the warning is there, because it's SCP. Oh my God.
Come on, watch. Don't keep God waiting. Whoa, hey. You alright?
Don't fucking touch me. Let's get this over and done with so I can go back to my hole.
If you haven't had enough time to...
It's not the medication, damn it. I just need to breathe.
He won't hurt you.
Yeah? You gonna stop him?
He's not a mindless beast chasing you down a corridor.
That covers the NTFs at C2. What about the SCPs?
343 at least likes to pretend he's more civilized. You're safe.
My hero.
Uh-huh.
Have I arrived late? Or perhaps too early?
God, I presume.
Wait, what?
In the
So this is God.
corporeal.
This is God in the SCP universe. Lovely.
A pleasure to meet you. 05 Jacobs.
And this is my associate.
Ah, yes, Mr. Watchorn. Good to finally make your acquaintance.
Likewise.
You've caused quite a stir in the heavenly water cooler.
That's not a good sign.
I apologize for the deception. We have no water coolers where I reside.
God's not in a pastry.
It's more of a golden fountain at the end of an ethereal river. It really is quite a sight. Not sitting with us, Mr. Jacobs?
Old habits. Prefer to keep my distance.
As you wish. More time to converse with your associate. I was very impressed at your ability to stay out of trouble at, what do you call it? C2.
I wouldn't exactly say staying out of trouble. It was more a trying to stay in one piece kind of deal.
Is
And
this...
did you?
Physically.
Before we get started, is there anything you'd like to ask?
He's a big boy. All-knowing. No questions to ask.
I got a feeling that the guy in the chair is a little bit bitter, but, yeah.
Would prefer the opportunity. As I understand it, humanity is quite fond of the notion of consent.
We're also big on the idea of free will. Isn't that right, Jacobs?
Then what is it you'd like to know, 343?
God.
Nope.
If you'd please.
Sure.
I do.
Imagine being that guy. Like, I'm sorry. Just no. Just no. Don't put me in a room where I have to interview God. Ugh.
You find it more suitable than being compared to a used car salesman.
Sorry.
Oh.
Wasn't personal. Just set it to nudge 035 into...
Your concern is unwarranted. I have been called much worse.
I've no stake in apologies here.
Oh, you will. We all have something to repent.
Just no. Just no. I don't know. Like, okay, this seems so trivial, but at the same... It seems so trivial... But at the same time, it's literally God. No. Just leave me out of this. I don't want to go in this damn room. Bruh.
This room requires a more aesthetically pleasing design. I shall return shortly.
Bruh.
That could have gone better. You're doing okay. Just take it easy.
I'm trying. Okay. I'm ready.
Good. Because I'm going to need you to play good cop to my bad cop in this.
You do realize he can hear you. You realize he can hear you.
We've only got one shot at getting the first recorded conversation with this guy, and if we want a clear confirmation as to whether or not he's actually God, we have to work together. Understood?
Yeah. Yeah, I get it.
Try to relax.
I'm
I doubt
trying
he'll
to
throw anything
relax.
we won't expect.
Gentlemen, shall we begin?
We're ready.
I'd be off that pillar.
Speaking of 035, it claims to also be God, or at least created by them. Zeus, Hephaestus, you get the gist. Any relation?
A fool may play the part of God, but beneath the mask, he is still a fool.
That a confession, or...
I do not deny that there are those in my world who possess powers beyond the capabilities of humanity. Yet, the comprehension is in the eye of the beholder.
We believe what we see, but what we see isn't what we believe.
Seems a bit blasphemous to allow these beings to go about representing you. Couldn't you just, zap?
Huh.
Do you spot every fly or crush every ant that pervades your domain? My instructions have always been clear, but it is up to mankind to follow those teachings.
Legit.
Oh, so it's our fault. Lovely.
A lack of understanding doesn't help.
Assumptions are tools of the uneducated.
Probably could have used some of that knowledge, huh? Might have.
There's not gonna be any good cop, bad cop here. They're both bad cops. Like, just... Why would you antagonize this creature?
Come in handy somewhere down the line.
Oh, you wish for every charlatan to be punished? Then say no more.
I didn't.
Stay back, or Four Eyes gets the sharp end. Well, this is awkward. Just gonna...
The Great Pretender.
You stole my line.
Heresy is a crime, punishable by death.
Are you God or an Inquisitor? Just, yeah.
But for you, I'll be merciful.
It's 3-5, but why though?
It's a fine line between pleasure.
What did you do with him?
Put that mask back in its cell.
Once punishment has been concluded, it will be returned. Dio, rejected by God, and beings more deserving of that title than he.
They being...
Tale unworthy of the voice of God.
We'll take it in writing. It must be hard to insist you're the one true God when we have clear evidence to the contrary.
Oh,
Have I
okay.
not proven my omnipotence?
Ah, but as you say, belief is in the eye of the beholder. We've got reality benders, physics-destroying, dimension-hopping creatures all over the place.
Yep.
Popping things in and out of sight isn't much comparatively in the way of proof.
What he means is that in the way of definitive examples of your godhood, creation, heaven, hell, you're a little on the short side.
My abilities are not tokens to be demanded. As it is written,
How convenient.
Much.
as convenient
Yeah. Like, the brass balls it would take to literally sit in front of this guy. No.
as your foundation, containing the beast that would otherwise wreak destruction upon the world I created from nothing.
682.
What if it were gone? Perhaps a change of fate would be enough to satisfy.
You wouldn't.
He's bluffing.
What value is there in deception? Is not influencing the path of mankind a godlike act?
Then everyone would die. Nothing would be left.
To start from nothing is no new concept to me.
But we are not all of humanity. You can't punish everyone because we don't believe.
Check out the Old Testament in that regard, my friends. It's happened. It has happened. So, I wouldn't be saying that if I were you.
The desire, however terrible, was not my own. It was yours.
What?
Wishful thinking is not one that considers the consequences. That is the difference.
I wonder how they do this animation. I really do. I saw 682's. I don't know what this is as far as animation, but I'm loving it.
Between a pretender granting wishes and a god who answers prayers.
Well, if all these other beings are simply posers, then why don't you tell us a little bit about them? Provide evidence of their deception.
Go for it.
Their falsehood is evident in their fallibility. How many cults has your foundation discovered in your observation?
A lot.
I don't know. A couple dozen?
Too many.
Yet, despite this, their evil remains at bay. Yaldabaoth commands their Sacrais as pawns, demanding the destruction of technology to return my children to a more primitive state. Melkane alternatively seeks to force humanity into transcending into realms you are far too young to comprehend. A journey you would not survive, nor return from.
Okay.
That in a spiritual sense?
As for Kahara,
I do not know who that is. I have not heard that name. The other two, McCain, I have heard. Yaldabaoth, I have heard. I haven't heard of Karok. Pardon me? Like, I'm not sitting in the damn chair anymore. Like, man in the black shirt, I do not know your name, good sir. But I have sympathy for you and the intense pain you must feel in walking around from the size of your fucking balls.
The other name.
And this guy's just chilling out like he's sitting here watching a boring concert. I mean, bruh.
Please.
the Scarlet King, as you call it, desires only destruction. A futile effort.
Well, then I have heard of him.
But a simple one. Your very fear of him brings forth his influence. But what do these three have in common?
Bad dental work?
Amusing. If they were truly gods up to my standing, would they not have already succeeded in their goals? For what purpose does a god require the services of lesser beings to carry out their design?
Point.
A desire? I created the universe with no such vessel. My power is absolute.
Surely a god as powerful as that would use their might to slay evil.
Even evil deserves the right to free will.
Now, this is truth. As painful as it is to say that.
To enforce my control to more than an influence would make me, as you say, evil.
The tyranny of good.
I do what I must. Their infighting and seclusion are in part a result of my will, but the choices they've made seal their fates.
Which makes tracking your abilities virtually impossible.
The freedom in choice was always designed with the potential of disbelief. But every choice is not without its consequences. Some you can clearly see, while others, well, are obscure.
Okay.
Were you born into godhood, or did you inherit it somehow?
To be born infers a beginning, which implies an eventual end. Existence and I are inextricably linked.
Okay.
Pardon us for not understanding time as an infinite loop.
Even that is quite an incorrect observation of how I function. But to answer your initial question, the burden of godhood has, and always shall be, my own.
Sorry excuse for a burden.
Care to repeat that?
You're hardly treating your powers as though they were much of a burden. By your own admission, prayers go unanswered. Free will decides humanity's fate 9 times out of 10, and the odd exception isn't always your doing.
True.
From where I'm standing, it almost seems as though you prance on in, give birth to whatever species you're bored enough to make, then split without consequences.
To view my presence as a luxury shows a remarkable lack of understanding of the responsibilities of the one true deity.
Yeah, we get the gist of it. You filter the cries for help and keep the boogeyman at bay.
What's confusing is all the things that you've told us so far don't seem to be all that time-consuming. I mean, if eternity's nothing for you, then how is the odd magic trick and bait and switch that strenuous?
Leaders of any kind are faced with decisions that hold vast and uncertain consequences. While omnipotence may grant me the gift of foresight, it does not allow the certainty in the face of free will. That is the penalty for obtaining freedom.
Okay.
The right to do wrong. To march headfirst into oblivion. I have sworn to never again stand in the way of mankind's ability to choose. And so my decision to act for good could very well tip the scales alternatively.
But what if our collective will is to beg you for help? That's our choice. By that point, you'd be more of an ally than God. Or would that be too much of a step down for you off that ivory tower?
Dude!
If you are implying my inaction is not with the best intentions...
Oh, I'd say it sounds more like an abusive partner gaslighting their significant other. You can't create the circumstances of evil, then blame us for it when we don't clean up the mess.
As I have said, mortal, my efforts are not limited to mere choice. My eyes and ears are spread out amongst the stars.
That's a lot of senses at work.
True.
Just how far does your presence spread? How many forms do you take?
Your lifespans would not less the time it would take to recount.
Figures.
Lovely.
Alright. Recent history.
For a time, my presence was more in influence than direct. Visions, images, things that nowadays men use to stray more people from the path. I provided warnings of the future to Nostradamus, whose predictions of history you can attest to being accurate.
People really read way too much into Nostradamus. They really, really do. It's a lot of the predictions of Nostradamus were excessively vague. And I mean excessively. I mean to the point of ridiculousness.
More like up to interpretation.
True.
You have a bit of a penchant for that.
Interpretation is the key to humanity's free will. If you are unable to choose the right paths alone, then that is your cross to bear.
Little on the nose.
A little bit.
In a year's time, Nostradamus predicted that a great plague would befall humanity. Perhaps then you'll believe my word.
Not the pestilence, right?
No, but as with my teachings...
Oh, come on. I wanted some 4-9. I wanted some 4-9 knowledge there.
Humanity will interpret fact over feeling. Even if I were to be blatant in my actions, man is perhaps more ignorant than you give them credit.
I'll say.
Yeah,
There was one
I can't really argue with that.
account with SCP-187 where she saw you as a little girl. Our staff witnessed you as you are, but she has something of a future sight.
It is not a form I am certain I have been, but if it is in reference to what I am to become,
By implication, somewhat permanently.
perhaps in your future
What?
it is possible.
But not certain. To you. Interesting.
That path is determined by you, not myself. The image of a child may yet prove useful in your future as the forms of others in your past. Soothsayers, mediums, healers throughout history, lost to your time. But for all my efforts, absolution was not to be found.
Now, you see, the thing about it is, I'm loving the approach that was taken in this. It's like the dialogue. Because we really don't understand how a being like this would operate. There's no way for us to understand it. There's no way for us to actually grasp motivation. And there's no way for us to grasp the rules that they would set for themselves. There's no way for us to actually understand them. It'd be like an ant trying to understand why we're talking on a cell phone. The concept simply just would not register. It just wouldn't. At all.
Then what were you doing in Prague trying to heal the sick?
I had been observing the Foundation for a time and determined that first contact would be an acceptable risk.
Why? Isn't what you're doing with us direct action?
True.
A hidden organization separated from the majority of mankind, still skeptical of my powers despite first-hand proof. Speaking through you would be akin to mere advice, whispers and ripples across the fabric of mankind's development.
Okay.
We're a way for you to cheat the system. Little lowbrow for a god, don't you think?
I do what is necessary.
Uh-huh.
So which one's the bad cop again? Which one's the bad cop? I'm trying to figure that out still. Because both of them are being dicks. Well, they're not really being dicks. They're carrying on a normal conversation, but the balls. The absolute, unrequited limits of balls.
The people I healed in Prague were a test of my abilities, drawing your gaze towards me.
Gave us quite the chase tracking you down through the city. Those tapes of you popping up all over the place still crack me up.
That rooftop one still gets me.
Right? And the agent that looks all duh.
Are my demonstrations amusing to you?
No, your tricks are impressive,
Tricks.
but that's all they are. Tricks.
Lovely.
You move things around, teleport, refurnish a room with decor that's so 12th century BC. But where's the big stuff?
Big stuff?
Well, you threatened us with total annihilation a couple minutes ago, but can you do the same for yourself? Can God cancel himself out?
Yes.
Can you create something or someone more powerful than you?
It is possible. But for what purpose would I deem such an act necessary?
Consider it a lesson in the nature of balance. You're sitting on the top of the food chain, which is something I've only considered accurate to 682. Don't you think that perhaps that sort of position clouds your judgment a little?
No.
So certain. Then why don't you make a stone appear on this table? Something that you can never pick up.
But why?
Humility. Something to clue you in to what an even playing field is.
I have no use for...
Oh, for crying out.
Your use is exactly the point. We have to deal with creatures that are far more powerful than us on a daily basis, yet you won't bother to lift a finger to help us out.
I don't understand. These guys, like, he's sitting there talking to you.
What's the use of free will if we're doomed to die anyway? That's the point. That is the reason. Because maybe the only thing that'll convince you is to feel the same fear we do.
And what fear is that?
The fear of not being strong enough to overcome the impossible. Will you try it, or is the outcome something you're not willing to face?
I have nothing to prove. Humanity elected pain, suffering, and fear when they disobeyed my one rule. I have broken no such bargain.
Of course. Only God sets the rules for God.
These two they could interview anybody they wanted to after this. Seriously, there's just nothing. There's nothing more or less. I don't know what, well, I understand that they're used to it. I understand perfectly well they're used to interviewing like reality benders and stuff like that. But I could never sit in front of somebody that could end me at a glance and just be sitting there so like confrontational. Just, I can't do, like, It's just like, I know that they probably won't, but at the same time, I'm not going to sit there and try to push some buttons.
So can you narrow down just how far your omniscience extends?
The lengths of my powers is beyond your comprehension.
Lovely.
Yeah, you guys really love that line. Look, I don't...
The you guys line. Yeah. Definitely. They definitely interview people like they interview entities like this regularly.
Don't just sit on my ass and pull a Larry King in these interviews, you know. I've done my research. Studied spiritualism, philosophy, astrology, numerology, cultism, cosmology, physics, and metaphysics. I've read tons of theology and religious texts. The Bible, the Talmud, the Quran, Tao Te Ching, Kojiki, everything from the Book of Shadows to the Tipitaka. So yeah, don't think we're quite as dense as we look.
Don't look at me. I actually am as dense as I look.
That's me!
Then I shall attempt as best as possible. I filter through every corner of creation. My influence is spread across every world, throughout nature, within the very atoms that make up your physical beings. Any lack thereof is dictated by my will, and my will alone.
Okay.
What benefit does seeing an eighth of humanity do a number 2 at the same time give you?
There are things that I allow individuals to maintain in private, where my presence is not required. My sight does not need to be set everywhere at once, merely where I choose it to be.
So your own private security monitoring system, potentially anywhere at any time, all at your discretion.
In your terms, yes.
In my terms, yes. That's a lot of privacy you've invaded. You ever tune into a channel you probably should have left closed?
I'm not sure I understand what you mean. All life is a part of my family.
Even parents give their kids some space to grow. They know when it's best not to be there as much as they know when they're needed. But we've all gotten bored. You ever get bored, God?
No.
No? Never took a peek into the lives of someone and watched them have a little private time?
I don't want to hear about this, Watch.
I agree.
Oh, so you have looked in on someone you shouldn't have.
That was not what I meant.
Sure it wasn't.
Watch.
Like, serious, like, okay. Just saying, I understand where this guy is coming from, but at the same time,
Move on.
Now we know how your sight works in terms of space, but what about on a temporal level? Are you only able to view the present, or can you also see the past and predict the future?
In a sense.
yeah.
In reality, I've never experienced your concept of time. Such a linear thing, very set in its way. Thin as resin, frayed to an infinitesimal degree. Yet each strand is as unbreakable as the strongest element.
Okay.
But for me, time is simply a location rather than a concept. A room with many doors to many places beyond. I can visit them all simultaneously and never have left.
Okay.
I'd ask if that were overwhelming, but given you've done this all your life, do I call it life?
I haven't much use for a word.
Existence? Presence?
No, Etern?
Latin?
Old English, it's poetic.
Okay.
Alrighty then. You've done this for your eterne, viewing everything that exists, does, has, or will simultaneously. From your metaphor, I assume you also mean alternative timelines that result in parallel universes, or what some refer to as the omniverse. Do you exist there too?
Indubitably.
Indubitably.
That's a lot to manage. Did you start with just one at first?
Also important, was it ours?
Probably not.
I cannot recall, although I believe it hardly matters at this point. A potential side effect free will being implemented in your design. To allow the luxury of choice on such a monumental scale require that the consequences of every potential outcome take manifestation.
Oh my god!
You mean to tell me that if I decide to drink regular or decaf in the morning, almond or soy, sugar or bitter, each of those results in a new universe being born?
Precisely.
That's a lot. That is way too many things to be considered. Like, this is worse than Marvel's multiverse at this point.
But there must be beyond numbers of them. One person
Now
alone.
we begin to understand. Although many of these universes have died out, or their potential squandered by wars and disease that have ravaged all life. Once, 2 universes re-emerged since, by sheer coincidence.
Okay.
Their alternating paths resulted in a single moment where they overlapped once more.
Then what?
Choice. Division.
Mitosis.
In a sense, the life cycle of the smallest and simplest organisms do somewhat mirror the life cycle of my creation.
That's poetic.
The whole eternity must become quite boring. The circle of life constantly repeating.
I admit a level of discontent. All things considered, and I mean that absolutely, it does feel as though my consistent presence amongst my creations is more a form of habit and necessity than it is out of interest.
Huh.
Maybe a change of view would shake things up. Let's get hypothetical. What would you do if you woke up one
I
day...
don't sleep.
Same. What would you do if you suddenly found yourself powerless?
You mean human?
Sure.
On a
Good
physical
question.
level, I would have limited senses at my disposal, numbing me to the ebb and flow of existence. At the same time, what few I retain would be substantially more sensitive to even the slightest stimuli. But on an emotional level, I would know that residing in this corporeal form would only be temporary.
Okay.
It would serve no purpose.
Okay, but suppose you didn't. Suppose that for as long as your human life lasted, you would never even know you were God, or that you would return to godhood once you had died. Imagine a 343 with the same restraints and uncertainties that plague humanity. What would you say to that?
Why?
So you can understand what it's like to be human.
I understand humanity. I created you.
Yes, you understand us. You made us. You study us. You give us what we have. But the barrier still exists. Everything you programmed a human being to be. But you still don't know what it's like to be one. At the end of the day, we're 2 separate entities.
I would have to consider the merit of such action.
Is there anything you'd give your powers up for?
Why do you ask this question?
You must have given us the lives you did, made us the way we are. Because you felt this was in some way an improvement over what you had. Maybe we're what you wish you could be.
No.
What? You're telling me there's no way you'd benefit
I
from it?
said no. My reasons are my own. Proceed.
Please don't make the very, 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 very strong entity pissed, please. Please just don't piss this thing off.
Why do you insist on coming here? To Earth? Out of the billions of planets you've supposedly created?
Surely there must be more interesting things for you to do or find out there.
I have seen all there is to know.
You didn't fully predict the separation of universes. Maybe there's more unknowns out there in the undiscovered country.
You misunderstand me. I have seen all, past, present, future. If anything unprecedented were to wriggle free at any point in any time across all planes of existence, then I would be the first and most likely only to know.
Okay.
If that's the case, then nothing should surprise you. You could predict the future and tell us how to avoid potentially devastating outcomes. Why don't you?
Choice once again rears its ugly head. I not only see the future, but all potential futures. I live in them all, but I am uncertain as to which will become your reality until all necessary pieces have fallen into place. Once again, the frailty rests with man.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't buy it. For someone who did everything he could to create us, you sure seem to belittle our existence on the regular. What about the whole made you in his image thing? You certainly seem to be skirting the definition a bit on appearances alone.
My physical attributes are not tied to my natural form.
Speaking of which, has anybody seen those videos on the biblically accurate way that angels look? Like they took the description of angels and ran them through an AI generator, and it's actually absolutely terrifying. I'm just saying.
Why the facade? We're all alike here, for the most part.
For the
You
most
know
part.
that, I know that. There's no need to play dress up for the lowly mortals.
I prefer this form.
Mustache Keanu Reeves. I approve.
Yeah, of course. Gotta keep some degree of separation. But it just doesn't add up. Why would you make us the way we are, condemn us for taking advantage of the traits we were given, then hang around caring whether we get wiped out or not? It makes no sense.
Humanity is my responsibility. It is not my place to simply stand by nor interfere directly. I must remain.
What if we don't need
Okay.
you?
Watch.
Less of us believe in you day by day. You're becoming less and less relevant every day of your inaction. People die, catastrophes manifest on a daily basis, and new and more dangerous SCPs are born into this world just to add another threat to the overwhelming honeypot that is the apparent death wish of our universe.
Calm down.
And through all that, you can't spare one miserable life. Someone who is supposedly made unto your image. You couldn't care less. An innocent child who can hardly take care of themselves? For what? Preserving the moral fiber of your being? How righteous and godlike you must feel to let the lives of everyone you've created hang at the end of the noose you tied from the first day we were born.
You see me as a fault for a personal slight, Isaac? Do you curse me for the pain you feel?
I'm sure you'd like the idea of living rent-free in my head, but think again. You just seem to be a little too eager to stick around a species that by your own definition as our creator is inferior. Almost like you're envious.
Envious of what?
You claim responsibility for our ongoing survival. You also infer that you exist by nature, across all timelines, all universes. You have no concept of time as we experience it. But that simply means that you have the pressures of an eternity mounting on you at every moment.
Uh-huh.
What is your point?
Don't you know? You should. You know everything. I think you envy our freedom. Our lives are smaller by comparison, but we aren't beholden to some grand responsibility. We live how we want, we can be what we want. We're not held back by the knowledge of what destiny holds. Our fragility or ignorance or whatever you want to call it is what you want. That's why you designed us this way. We're an imperfect copy of you, because that's the kind of existence you wish you could have.
To live, to die, to sleep. The merit of your argument rests on the idea that I feel I have been robbed of a right I have never known, and therefore can never miss or be envious of. Could any humans miss wielding the power of God when they have never controlled such a thing?
You don't need to have loved and lost to want to feel it. I think you underestimate how many people wish they could have the kind of power you have.
Let's move on.
Huh. How would you explain a situation to somebody that has never been in it before? This is like a lot of these things in this the arguments are the core of my Mistakes of the Emperor series. Like I'm a big 40K guy. And on my lore channel, I put together a series called Mistakes of the Emperor that was literally trying to explain why some of the decisions were made in that lore series, because the Emperor of Mankind, as he is essentially godlike. He's never been weak. He has never been unsure. He's never been any other things that would be needed to actually understand the human condition. He loves humanity. He just doesn't understand it at all. He just doesn't grasp it. He doesn't actually take hold of it and grasp it. There's nothing for him to anchor onto. How do you explain the concept of wanting to believe in a higher power to somebody that has never experienced doubt or fear or any of those emotions? It's impossible. It's impossible. You can't even relate to it. You can't even begin to.
We know that the doctor in charge of your case disappeared shortly after raising concerns about your requests for interaction.
Did he? And what was his name?
Don't play dumb with me.
Easy there.
Yeah.
And disappeared is putting it too nicely.
Oh.
A man was wiped from existence while studying you. His associate also vanished shortly around the time of your last visit, a Dr. Leslie Beck.
Ah, a good man. Very well read. Handsome, too.
He never existed either. Not until he took over your file. No family, no forms of enlistment. It's like Beck was dropped in with a pair of divine forceps. Except for some reason, we all remember him, but we don't remember his predecessor.
I'm sorry, but is there a question here?
What happened?
The actions of God are not for mankind to question, as is the motivation behind them.
Last I checked, the Lord works in mysterious ways didn't get me out of a parking ticket. You're seriously gonna hide behind that defense?
There are some things humanity is better off not knowing. Truths that expose you to danger or inspire you to seek it out on some misguided voyage.
We lock things up all the time that by all means we should never have known about in the first place. But it's our job, and we're willing to face those consequences.
And yet you still hide their existence from the wider population.
Yes.
Why is that? For your safety or theirs? Humans who seek the truth rarely react appropriately.
This is very true.
Foul. Many of you try to deny it regardless, while some of you spend your lives lashing out to protect yourself from imagined horrors from around every corner. Truth is trauma for the weak-willed.
That is literally the best line I have heard in such a long time. Truth is trauma for the weak-willed.
You see it here, but even the Foundation views the truth from behind safety glass and locked doors. Remove that filter, and your minds would break.
More like other things would break their minds. I'm just saying. I'm just saying, yeah, remove the bindings that hold some of these things in place, and it's not the minds that are gonna break, it's the things that are gonna break the minds. I'm just saying it's gonna happen very, very quickly. No.
Understand. You fear me as much as you hate. Preservation is the only motivation that we truly share. But my reasoning outclasses your own. What your missing doctor failed to understand is that the truths I hold would have destroyed him regardless, not to mention the catastrophes that would have resulted in passing them on to you.
You're trying to tell me that this was necessary.
Huh.
I declare that my actions were necessary.
Did he have kids, a family, partner, parents, pets, a freaking bowling team? Did he spend his life doing good deeds or bad? Does it even matter? You took it from him. From everyone. You didn't just kill someone. What you did was worse. And we don't even know how many more there are. We only know about this single person by chance. Your actions erase the consequences of a man in this world. You denied him his choices. That was necessary. But you can't help us for any other reason?
It was necessary.
You could have done anything. You're God, are you not? Erased his memory, teleported away, asked for a damn transfer. Did you think we were gonna deny you?
Isaac, calm down.
No, he doesn't get to get away with this. What kind of irresponsible God would just wave his hand and tear you out of time and space for doing what humans do best? What he designed us to do. Seek the truth.
You are not ready for many of the truths you seek. You think knowledge is as simple to obtain as eating an apple? That is not the whole story. It is merely what I allow you to know.
Then, what happened?
Pain.
Okay.
Suffering. As I predicted. As I warned you. Begged you to trust that you were better off without. You had to be punished for breaking it, or you would have never learned your lesson.
I think you're the one who hasn't learned a lesson. Just because you may have made us doesn't make us lesser than you.
You think you could handle the responsibilities of a god?
You bet.
Oh. This is getting really deep.
Bet your ass I could if you're anything to judge by.
To believe so demonstrates how ill-suited you are to the task. It proves just how lesser you are.
Eat a dick, asswipe.
Isaac, no! Stop it!
The selfish delusion of a man, simply and pathetically. You think I do not see the desires that push you to such extremes? I ask of you, if you would be God, what would you do? I thought so. It was obvious from the start. I have unfinished business to attend to. Be sure to see to your own until my return.
What the hell was that?
Hell is right.
Oh,
Did you enjoy
man!
the video? Why not click the bell icon and subscribe to see more content from us at Tats.videos.
Okay. Hold on a second.
And now let's see the creators of this video.
Let's see it. Okay, so she's the editor, animator, musician, clown prince of crime. Nice. Mongoose. Okay, so let's just jump at this. Let's just jump. So, the character of Watch most definitely has some sort of hang-up. Don't know quite what it is, but it's severe. And the sheer fact of the matter is, to antagonize a creature like this would be like, there are things that are gonna rapidly degenerate your life cycle, and this is one of them. This is one of them. So is 343 actually God? Is it actually God? There's no way to know. The sheer fact that he's sitting there kind of points to the contrary. There is all evidence to say that it's just a very strong reality bender with a God complex, which would make sense. But, like, a lot of things that were covered in this, a lot of things that they talked about, just reminds me of my Mistakes of the Emperor series so much, because it's hard to actually explain or understand the actions of a being like this. It is excessively hard to understand their actions, their motivations, what they're looking for, what they want. You can't explain to somebody who has never felt fear what fear is. You just can't explain that. There's no way to actually let them know. If you've never been hungry, you don't know what it is to hunger. If you've never been dying of thirst, you can't explain what it is to feel that way. You just can't. It's something that requires experience to know, and a being such as this has no such experience. It just doesn't have it. The concept of it is, simply gone. There were two groups of people, and there was two types of entity in that room. One that could not possibly understand the other, in both directions. 343 can't understand humanity. Humanity can't understand 343. That is just the way of it. There is no way for the two to understand each other at all, because if you've never been able to experience fear, if you've never had the inkling of it, if you don't know what the sensation is, then you can't understand the motivations of somebody directed by fear. It's legitimately impossible. Guys, this was outstanding. This was absolutely outstanding. Hats off to Tats TopVids and the group that does this. What's outstanding. This SCP in particular, it's a lot of a thought experiment here. A lot of a thought experiment. It's actually just so intertwined. I don't know if all this was in the file. But at the same time, if it was not in the file, if they just took the file itself and then went with it, then hats off to the scriptwriter for this. Because, simply put, articulating these kinds of things is very, very difficult. It's difficult to do. It's difficult to wrap your head around, because you have to put yourself in the mental headspace of this, of this kind of entity. You have to do that, and that is not easy. It's simply not easy to do for a prolonged period of time. So hats off to the entire team behind this. This was an outstanding introduction to this SCP in particular. Now, is it God? Because at the beginning they were completely right. Now, it's clear at the end they did believe it was God. But if it is not, it is a reality bender with a God complex, which is really not surprising considering how reality benders turn out most times. Guys, thank you for watching. All of Tats TopVids links are going to be in the description down below. I highly recommend this channel. Highly, highly recommend this channel. I just wish I knew what program they're using to get their animations in. The animator did an outstanding job. When he was trying to come over the table, I was like, this is not gonna, like, what are you gonna really do here? What are you really gonna do? You're not gonna do jack. Guys, thank you for watching. I will catch you next time. Just don't try to punch a deity. It's going to go badly for you. I'm just saying, don't do that. That's stupid.